Welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Giacomo Luca. Thanks so much for joining us here at 8:46 on the East Coast, 5:46 over on the West Coast. Today we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of that historic March on Washington, a movement that inspired a generation of civil rights, as well as the Civil Rights Act and voting rights legislation. Over here in Washington today, we have coverage from our Fox 5 DC team following all of this, as a number of civil rights leaders, as well as interfaith leaders and activists today are speaking in commemoration. Let's listen in, live and raw and unfiltered.
In our own voice, National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda. We are the first and only, yes, national state partnership of Black women leaders across the country fighting for reproductive justice for Black women, girls, and gender expansive people. I am honored to be standing on these steps in solidarity with my brothers and sisters across the movement. Also, I'm honored to represent an organization that is working every day to unapologetically center the lives, voices, and liberation of Black women. Black women leaders have played a historic and indispensable role in the many pivotal moments of civil rights history, even when we were asked to take a back seat. But let it be known, we are no longer waiting behind. We will never truly realize the March on Washington's vision of economic equality and freedom until all of us have the full ability to control our bodies and our future. Attacks on reproductive freedom and attempts to roll back our civil rights seek to keep us in bondage. To realize the full reproductive justice vision, we need to continue, of course, to build the achievements of the civil rights movement, but our dream is when everyone believes these achievements are all basic human rights. Unencumbered access to the ballot box, freedom from racism and sexism, clean air and water, and safe communities and economic security for our families will bring us closer to that reality. But we also need access to quality health care, respectful health care, and the right to make our own health care decisions without government coercion or interference. Forced pregnancy is cruel, a violation of our human rights, and put simply, it's reproductive oppression. In our own voice, we are fighting back against any effort to constrain our lives, health, and well-being, and are coming together as sisters in this movement to make sure our position is heard loud and clear at the ballot box. It's no secret that states with the highest maternal mortality rate are the same states limiting access to our reproductive health care. When Black people have to weigh or grapple with those very personal, urgent, and most important private reasons that touch nearly every aspect of our lives when deciding whether or not to carry to term, thinking how do I stay alive when I have children should not have to be a part of that decision. Now, you can learn more about the more than 100 life-saving policy solutions we're demanding now in our Black Reproductive Justice Agenda if you go to blackrj.org. But look, it's going to really take all of us to do this. We need you to join our movement. We need you to join us in this fight for reproductive justice and commit to putting leaders in office who are going to restore, who are going to expand, and who are going to prioritize our rights throughout the nation. So go to blackrj.org, sign up to be a reproductive justice voter as you head to the polls in the elections both this fall and 2024. And don't think it won't make a difference, because that's what they're depending on. Working together, we can realize reproductive justice. I look forward to seeing you on the front lines in the polls. Peace, love, and power. Thank you.
Representing her home state of Cleveland, Ohio, of the National Accent Network and the Midwest region, let's welcome Dr. Marcia McCoy.
All right, you are listening in here to the 60th anniversary commemoration ceremony of the historic March on Washington. We're headed to a quick commercial break here on Live Now from Fox. We'll be back with full coverage in just 2 minutes. All right, welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Giacomo Luca. Thanks so much for joining us. We are continuing our coverage of the historic March on Washington.
I would simply like to say that I think this has been one of the great days of America. And I think this march will go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, demonstrations for freedom and human dignity ever held in the United States.
The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. there speaking following his historic I Have a Dream speech. You're taking a live look now over at the National Mall. This camera courtesy of EarthCams as we go back into our live coverage today of that 60th anniversary event of the March on Washington.
Thank you to Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. Join the movement.
Let's welcome Executive Director, Common Events, and President of YWCA, Jose Vasquez and Margaret Mitchell.
It's a delight to be here, and I am here standing on the shoulders of Coretta, Dorothy, Helen, and Alexine. I come from a large and bold women's organization, the YWCA, and I am Margaret Mitchell. Children, I come back today to tell you the story of the long, dark way that I had to climb, that I had to know in order that my race might live and grow. Look at my face, dark as the night, yet shining like the sun with love's true light. I am the child they stole from the sand 300 years ago in Africa's land. I am the dark girl who crossed the wide sea, carrying in my body the seed of the free. I am the woman who worked in the field, bringing the cotton and the corn to yield. I am the one who labored as a slave, beaten and mistreated for the work that I gave. My children were sold away from me, my husband sold too. No safety, no love, no respect was I due. 300 years in the deepest South, but God put a song and a prayer in my mouth. God put a dream like steel in my soul, and now through my children, young and old, I realize the blessings denied to me. I couldn't read then. I couldn't write. I had nothing back there in the night. Sometimes the road was hot with sun, but I had to keep on. No stopping for me. You see, I was the seed of the coming free, and I nourished the dream that nothing could smother deep in my breast, the Negro mother. I had only hope then, but now through you, dark ones of today, my dreams must come true. All you dark children in that world out there, remember my pain, my sweat, my despair. Remember my years heavy with sorrow, and make of those years a torch for tomorrow. Make of my past a road to the light, out of the darkness, the ignorance, the night. Lift high my banner out of the dust and stand like free women, supporting my trust. Believe in the right, let none push you back. Remember the whip and the slaver's track. Remember how the strong struggle and strife still bar you the way and deny you life. But march ever forward, breaking down bars, and look ever upward to the sun and the stars. Oh, my dark children, may my dreams and my prayers impel you forever up the great stairs. For I will be with you till no white brother dares to keep down the children of the Negro mother.
Good morning, March on Washington. My name is Jose Vasquez. I'm a U.S. Army veteran and the Executive Director of Common Defense. We are the nation's largest grassroots organization of progressive veterans. You can find us at commondefense.us. We are honored to be part of this historic gathering and want to thank the Drum Major Institute, National Action Network, and all of the sponsoring organizations here today. I'm joined by two of my colleagues, two amazing leaders of our movement, Joanna Sweat from Phoenix, Arizona. She's a Marine Corps veteran, combat veteran, and the organizing director of Common Defense. Also, Brittany Kewington from Dallas, Texas, is a U.S. Air Force veteran, a shop steward for CWA Local 6215, and the co-chair of our newly formed Black Veterans Caucus. We are here today because of leaders like Brittany, who recently came together at the Highlander Center to form our first Black Veterans Caucus. We represent a contingent of dozens of veterans standing right over there and military family members from across the nation marching today under the Common Defense banner, and tens of thousands more across the country. We stand before you today united in service and the deep commitment to liberty and justice for all people. Common Defense is rooted in a shared history of struggle with the civil rights, labor, and liberation movements of the past. We know that veterans have always been on the front lines of progress. Veterans like Harriet Tubman, Maceo Snipes, Amzie Moore, Medgar Evers, Harry Belafonte, Cesar Chavez, Howard Zinn, Patricia McGinnis, Gilbert Baker, Monica Helms, Dr. Robert Bullard, and so many others served this country both in and out of uniform to make us a more perfect union. Like the theme of today's march, we not only commemorate their powerful legacy of progress, but are continuing to carry the banner of freedom and equity forward. Our promise to you is this: the veterans of Common Defense will face the attacks on our rights, our dignity, and our safety head on. We will not cede any ground to authoritarian leaders and the cowards who follow them. We will not stand by while our democratic institutions are under assault. We will not rest until the scourge of white supremacy is replaced with a beloved community. We swore an oath to the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and we will uphold our oath to defend.
All right, folks, the time now is 9:01 on the East Coast. It is 6:01 over on the West Coast. Looks like our feed did dump out just a little bit there, but we have a bunch of shots of those events this morning here on Live Now from Fox. This one overlooking the National Mall there. That's where all those speakers are as we continue to follow the 60th anniversary events of the March on Washington. Taking a closer look there at the Lincoln Memorial. Let's see if we can pop up this audio and see if there's any audio on this shot here.
Narrating the American nightmare that continues to this day to put holes in the drain of Dr. King. The American nightmare seen in neo-fascism, waging war on a democracy that we have believed in.
All right, folks, looks like we got a reporter now standing in front of that other shot there, still working to get back our feed as we continue our coverage here of those 60th anniversary events here on Live Now from Fox. I do want to play out, though, this video from the National Archives. This is from some of the interviews and speeches during that day some 60 years ago.
It's been one of the great days of America. And I think this march will go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, demonstrations for freedom and human dignity ever held in the United States.
I give you Mr. Burt Lancaster. All Americans traveling no matter where in the world today are in the position of ambassadors and are very often made bitterly aware of our country's reputation. It is not easy to be an American abroad, nor is it easy to make coherent to those who are not Americans the nature and the meaning of our struggle. And we are therefore forever indebted to those Americans represented by the March on Washington movement for giving us so stunning an example of what America aspires to become, and for helping us to redefine in the middle of this dangerous century what is meant by the American Revolution.
And taking a live look out at the Lincoln Memorial there, right on the National Mall, as we are celebrating the March on Washington 60 years later. Let's listen in, live, raw, and unfiltered.
Good morning. 60 years. 60 years ago, the Japanese American Citizens League was the only Asian American organization out here. So first, I want to recognize Todd Endo is the one surviving member of that group out here in the audience today. His family's out here today as well, grandfather down to grandchild. So welcome, Todd. We've already heard from my good friend Kieran from SALDEF, Norman Chen from TAF, but Asian Americans today will be out in force because we know that today is a continuation, not a commemoration. This month is also the 35th anniversary of the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, which offered our government's apology for what our country did to Japanese Americans during World War II. But we're nearly 160 years since the end of the Civil War, and the promise of 40 acres and a mule remains unfulfilled. If we could pass the Japanese American redress 35 years ago, we are long past due for African American reparations. We need our leaders to establish a commission to study the need for reparations and bring racial healing to our country. Now, some might say that was too long ago. And what does reparations even mean? But isn't that why we are all here today? That only 60 years ago, 100 years after the end of slavery, our nation continued to enforce laws that subjugated all people of color, especially black men, women, and children, to lesser voting rights, unequal access to capital, to housing, to unequal education, and still today, police brutality. Slavery didn't end, it just changed what it looked like. This is why today is a continuation of that work, not just a commemoration. The reality, life is a game that we all play, with unfair or sometimes even different rules. Too often, it depends on what you know, who you know, and yes, the color of your skin as to how the rules apply to you. Yet on the other end of this National Mall, we've seen the Supreme Court rule that we no longer need affirmative action, which helped to level the playing field and make up for those imbalances of opportunity. However, despite these so many failures of the courts in recent years to uphold justice, we do still need to keep faith in the system. We do hold hope that those who try to steal elections will still face consequences. Ultimately, we need to make sure that elections are so overwhelming they cannot be stolen. We need to win elections to enact these laws so that everyone has a fair and equal opportunity. So get out and vote, because that is how we will continue to realize the dream of 60 years ago and the dreams that we have for our children today.
Good morning. I'm Fatima Goss-Graves. I'm president and CEO of the National Women's Law Center. The National Women's Law Center was founded 10 years after this historic march. And what a deep, deep honor to stand here today alongside my brothers and sisters in the work and to be on the same steps as Dr. King 60 years later. I have a dream. This is certainly a time in our nation's history where we need to be reminded of our dreams. We need to be reminded of the powerful words that reverberated in August of 1963. And those are the words that have continued to inspire young people across this country to aspire for more. But I want to talk today about how Dr. King began his speech. He began by calling attention to an unfulfilled promise. An unfulfilled promise of the Emancipation Proclamation, of the Declaration of Independence, of our very Constitution. And 60 years later, our communities continue to demand the freedom promised by this country. And that freedom must extend to us all. It must extend to 2 Black women in Georgia who have been attacked for fearlessly providing grants to businesses led by women of color. It must extend to Latina women who will not stand for losing more than $1 million in their lifetime to the pay gap any longer. It must extend to LGBTQ children and families who are facing unrelenting attacks today. And it must extend to every person in this country who is told that they do not have the right or the ability to control their own body, their lives, or their future. In this month alone, we've seen South Carolina's all-male Supreme Court ban abortion and uphold that abortion ban. We've seen an extremist lawsuit try to shut down Planned Parenthood. And in North Carolina, following 21 other states, they passed a ban on gender-affirming care. But to quote Dr. King, again, now is not the time to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now's not the time to limit our political agenda to what is deemed reasonable. Dr. King was not deemed reasonable. The change he saw was transformative. In our laws, yes, but in our hearts and in our minds. And so I know so many of us, we look around the state of this country today, and maybe you might be worried, and maybe you might be scared, or maybe you might even be sad. And I want to leave you today to what has brought me the greatest joy in this time. It is knowing that our fights today are generational, that I can look at my young kids and I can look at my elders, and that we are all here today fighting together, striving together. And when I look at this incredible, incredible crowd, I know that each of you will keep fighting, you will keep marching for the change that we deserve in this country. And to everyone showing up again and again and again for abortion, for trans lives, for the futures of young people, for fearless Black women, we see you. Thank you.
If you're just tuning in here to Live Now from Fox, I'm Giacomo Luca. This is the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. We are remembering that civil rights march that had such a profound impact on American history. Let's listen in live, raw, and unfiltered as activists and other civil rights leaders join the stage.
60th anniversary celebration of the March on Washington and the inspiring vision of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As members of the Church of Jesus Christ, we express our deep respect and admiration for the Reverend King's courageous pursuit of that sacred obligation we all share to help every member of the human race enjoy the full dignity, the equal opportunity, and the abiding happiness that God desires for each one of us. We are all children of the same God, literally brothers and sisters traveling this mortal journey. President Russell M. Nelson, a global faith leader and current president of the Church of Jesus Christ, reminds us that with this vision of who we truly are, there is room for everyone and no room for prejudice, condemnation, or contention of any kind. The road may seem long, but Reverend King's dream to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood will come. It will come one person and one interaction at a time as we manage honest differences of opinion with mutual respect and civil, dignified dialogue. It will come not through compelled conformity, but through conforming to a compelling ideal, friendship unfeigned despite differences of opinion. And it will come as we walk shoulder to shoulder on the same path in order to secure our freedom to walk our separate ways when necessary according to our distinctive beliefs. As disciples of Jesus Christ, we seek to embrace his example of peacemaking, to love one another, to do good one to another, to pray one for another. And we give thanks to all those around us who, from their own beliefs and convictions, also seek to be peacemakers. As we grapple with the challenges all around us, may God bless us through them to build bridges of understanding, to build up others, and from a dream of the past to continue building a more just society that truly recognizes the divinity in each one of us. May we help make that dream a reality. Thank you.
Executive Director of the National LGBTQ Task Force and Executive Director of Family Equality. Let's welcome Kiara Johnson, Sheila Emerson, and Stacey Stevenson.
If you're just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, I'm Giacomo Luca. We are hosting special coverage this morning of the March on Washington, remembering it now 60 years later, taking a live look right now in that big box on the right-hand corner of your screen, left-hand corner of your screen there. That's the National Mall where all those events are taking place. The same area where some 250,000 people gathered 60 years ago in that really remarkable national civil rights movement. Let's go ahead and turn back to the Lincoln Memorial. Right there at the edge of the steps there is where our speakers are today as we remember the March on Washington 60 years later.
The march Bayard Rustin helped organize in 1963. This opportunity is more than a dream realized for me because we all are the product of our ancestors' wildest dreams. Our lives are literally under attack. Our trans, genderqueer, and non-binary children are being targeted. Religion has been weaponized to deny care and rights to our loved ones. The erosion of voting rights, the dehumanization of immigrants, the policing of Black and brown bodies, and attempts to erase our contributions from the history books. And yet, here we are. Yeah! We are manifesting the solidarity that is the cornerstone of progress, of liberation. The causes we are marching for will impact generations. This is our country. This is our democracy. And we have everything we need to demand what we deserve and what we want. We deserve a community that affirms and values, celebrates Black trans women instead of one that seeks to eradicate them. We deserve a government that values human rights while uplifting the marginalized and forgotten, regardless of immigration status. We deserve a community that invests in the health and well-being of its people and welcomes a society of learning and of love. All people deserve bodily autonomy and liberation that extends across party lines, religion, and the federal and state agencies that our tax dollars fund. We deserve congressional leaders that will pass essential, life-saving, and affirming legislation like the EACH Act, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, the Renewing Immigration Provisions Act, and the expansion of civil rights and passing the Equality Act. So today, let us move forward with determination and hope as we honor the legacy of those who paved the way for us. Let's continue to build bridges of solidarity by reaching out to those who love us but might not quite understand us or what this movement is yet about. As I look out, I see an unstoppable force capable of dismantling the barriers that hinder our collective progress. A multi-generational, multiracial, and cultural movement cemented in the pursuit of equity, liberation, and justice. Together, we will have it all. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Stacey Stevenson, and I am the President and CEO of Family Equality. There are three words that lie at the core of our country and our humanity: love, family, and freedom. Singularly, these words can cause an emotional reaction in the person. You know, it's just something that you feel when you hear those words. It's a knowing, a craving. But when these words are unified and used as our wake-up call, as our anchor, as our North Star, a new movement and an awakening can manifest. So today must serve as our awakening, an awakening of our hearts, our bodies, our minds. Today we make a collective commitment to forever drop the illusion of separation. Today we realize that love, family, and freedom is on the line for all of us. So we can no longer look away when one of us is harmed. We can no longer be seduced by the comfort of sameness. We can no longer believe that our plights and fights are separate and unique. That is what the forces of ill will want. They want our separation. They'd rather us be divided than united. So let our new movement begin and solidify today when we all lock arms and say, no more! This is our America too. And to all of you, I say, my fight is your fight and your fight is mine. The fight is ours. Our fight is for the Jewish couple who were turned away from adopting because of what they believe. Our fight is for the LGBTQ family who had to flee their home state to find safety. Our fight is for queer families, straight families, faith families, chosen families, all American families. And we will be unrelenting in our quest for love, family, freedom, until at last we can say we have realized the dream, Dr. King's dream, our dream, the American dream. This is our America too.
Good morning. My name is Sheila Lorette Emerson, and I use she and her pronouns. I'm the president for the Philadelphia chapter of the largest organization for LGBTQ plus people, families, and allies. PFLAG. I'm also the proud mother of two brave, brilliant beauties, one of whom identifies as LGBTQ plus. I love both of my daughters, and I'm a fierce parent of both of them. I'm also a ride or die ally to the LGBTQ plus community. Back home in Philly and across the country, as members of PFLAG are rising up, we're coming together to face down the efforts of those who try to spread fear and divide us. We are together, leading with love. Every person, Black, Indigenous, people of color, transgender, questioning, every person deserves the freedom to be safe, to be their authentic self, and the freedom to thrive. This is what a parent wants for their child, and this is what PFLAG fights for. As the president of the Philadelphia PFLAG chapter, I have seen the best of my community as we lead with love to ensure every LGBTQ plus person is safe, celebrated, affirmed, and loved. We want to celebrate with you. Find your local PFLAG at pflag.org. We have work to do. There is a role and a place for you. Because if you think you don't know an LGBTQ plus person, odds are you do. So join us. Make your community a place where every LGBTQ plus person and family can thrive. Thank you.
Please welcome Sheila Katz, President of National Council of Jewish Women, and Tamika Atkins, Executive Director of Pro Georgia.
My name is Sheila Katz, and I'm the CEO of National Council of Jewish Women, the nation's oldest Jewish feminist civil rights organization, an organization that was honored to first join this march 60 years ago. For the Jewish community, this time leading up to our high holidays is one of reflection. This month, we are commanded to recommit to the work of repentance and repair, not only as individuals, but importantly, fundamentally, as a community. Together, we feel the pain of living in a country where gun violence is the leading cause of death for children. Together, we mourn the profound toll of racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and every form of bigotry. Together, we hold our righteous anger at the judges and legislators who are denying women their bodily autonomy. Not alone, but together, we recognize all the ways that this country has failed to live up to its sacred obligations of justice and equity for all people. But we do not just feel together. As the high holidays compel us to repair, we also act together. As our Kehila Kedosha, our holy community, we draw strength from one another. We remind ourselves that we stand in a long line of people of every race and creed, willing to stand firm for the values we believe in. We remember Dr. King's refusal to be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. This morning, on the steps of this Temple of Liberty, we feel the power of his words, the power of the thousands of people joining us here today, the power of the millions of people across the country who are ready to rush like a wave into the streets and into the voting booth. Together, as our holy community, our beloved community, we're joined as one force, a rising tide of justice, of equity, of opportunity. Today, arm in arm, side by side, let us recommit ourselves to the painful, difficult, joyful, holy work ahead. Amen.
Hello. here from Georgia. A Georgia where we lack affordable housing for all, where we have one of the worst disparities in healthcare across the country, and where income inequality runs rampant. And yet, in spite of blatant attacks on our right to vote, we came out and we voted in droves. Despite barriers, Black people showed up and showed out in 2020, 2021, and 2022. And we will continue to do so. And we know that it takes the power of community, of collaboration, of countless leaders on the ground to continue the fight for jobs and freedom that was started 60 years ago, where brave souls marched on this very ground demanding a better tomorrow. Coretta Scott King reminded us, freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. And today, we find ourselves at a crossroads, facing new uncertainties and battles. Recent Supreme Court decisions threaten some of our basic rights. And extreme toxic partisanship, it strains our nation and stands in the way of our ability to engage with each other with respect and dignity. Our struggles are a testament to our resilience, our capacity to emerge from adversity. It makes us stronger than before. And every victory against oppression lays a stronger foundation for the fight for the world we want to live in as future generations continue this work. As Dr. King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And as Executive Director of Pro Georgia, I stand alongside 61 organizations who believe that together we can reshape the future, molding it into one of equity, justice, and opportunity for all. And as we commemorate the 60th anniversary on the March on Washington, let us remember that while freedom isn't free, it is within our grasp. As we carry the torch of progress forward, never forget that change, it starts today, tomorrow, and for generations to come. Thank you.
All right, if you're just joining us now here on Live Now from Fox, you are tuning in to that special there, a 60th anniversary as we celebrate the March on Washington, the national civil rights movement that made the way for the Civil Rights Act, as well as voting rights legislation and inspiring a generation. We are headed to a quick commercial break here on Live Now from Fox. But when we come back, we'll get right back into this coverage of that special event. Stick with us here on Live Now from Fox.